Okay, camera's playing up. Hold on. For some reason, is it working now? Well, it's working, but it doesn't really want to work. Hey, Dave, here we are with a bit of a mess here. I've been doing several things today, so I haven't really tied it up in between. But anyway, what we've got here is your Oakcaster 21 body. This one, I know you've probably seen actually already, but this one deliberately has the kind of knots built into it, so the pickups will sit in there. But anyway, so we have 21 there, and this has been in the workshop for a year nearly, no, maybe something like that. But anyway, I've just been doing some neck fitting and tweaking. So now we have a fitment, or a good fitting of the neck. So that's where it would end up going. What I'll do is I'll shape down this bit here to make it into a new shape. So obviously take off all this edge here, down to the bit where it meets the edge of the body. What I've also noticed about this is, what have I noticed? That's okay, that's all good. I've noticed, with these necks I'm often in two minds about what to do with them, whether to refret them. And I've noticed that the frets aren't good enough on this, so I am going to refret this. So it's a big deal in some senses, if I can even find where I've put my soldering iron now. But it's an important one. It's not going to take me a billion years to do, but I'm basically going to be redoing this whole neck anyway, right? So I've kind of slimmed it down a little bit, and I'm going to continue to sort of sand it and shape it around here. So while I'm at it, I'm going to refret it and put jumbo frets on. These Chinese paddle necks aren't brilliant. They're not bad construction. I've had this one at least 4 months now, and it's very stable, so there's nothing happening to it. But basically for me, the frets aren't good enough. But they make a good start point for two things really. First of all is it's a great start point for putting a small headstock on it. I don't even know if this is the correct thing. I'll probably need to draw this out again. Surely I had another one of these. Oh well. I think that's an old template. Anyway, I'll kind of measure one up and do another one on here. But I think what I'll do to make this really good is I will refret it, and I'll use jumbo fret wire, because I think that's what makes these things really excellent. So it's the last of my, basically just about the last of my wire, which is, I need to buy some more anyway, so we'll do it. But it's 16-inch radius, so we'll get really nice jumbo frets out of this. Like I say, these are so-so by default, but they could be improved. So I'm going to really totally rework this. The shape of the neck itself is very good, generally very good, but as you can see, I'm going to reshape it, and then I'm going to cut the custom headstock. So I can leave the camera running a bit. I'm going to get me down if I can without breaking everything. I'm going to get the 16-inch radius block. Now what I'm going to do with this, obviously I use this caul for holding it down, so I can do some, that's that thing, you know, scraping. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm going to file in a minute, but I want to take out the old frets first, so I'm going to need a clamp for that. Open the door, keep it some air in here because it's warm. Believe it or not, it gets warm. So I'm going to take away from this end. Claire was saying, well, you should try and use the frets as they came, you know, but I'm not happy enough with them. So they're going to go, and I'm going to radius the board, keeping it at 16 inches, but I'm just going to freshen it up, and then I'm going to re-fret it. with my own wire. I think I need to do this with the correct hand and what's going on. So, and these all, you watch, these will come out easy as anything. Obviously I want to make sure they come out cleanly with no tear. So I'm giving it some heat. I don't know how well you can see that. So as always, I tend to use these necks as a start point because it's actually easier than trying to make one. I don't have the tools to make a neck from scratch, so most of what I use in my builds are either new necks, new budget necks if you like this, which I'll refret, I'll reshape, I'll cut the custom headstock, and then on top of it all I'll refinish it with a custom logo on it, so it'll be finished with a nice thick polyurethane lacquer, and that means it'll feel lovely and smooth to play. I mean, I won't put it massively thick on, but I'll do enough to so it feels nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go down the edge first, so I often do, and then come backwards. The reason for that is that getting that first bite can be difficult, as I've just found out, and sometimes when you find the technique, it's good to stick with it. So as long as you get that first bite moving, then everything else follows. So I've got all the hardware and other equipment on order. I ordered that last night, so that should be here within the week, I would say. It's Monday today, so we shouldn't be too long. Yeah, it's going to be all gold. Now I think I drilled this bridge already for a Strat style bridge. I just put pilot holes in, but that's fine if I don't use them. We can go backwards and make some new ones for any different kind of bridge. I've ordered a Strat style, but sometimes I've used Telecaster style, which kind of work quite nicely too. Right, so now we'll just warm up the rest and pull them out. It's a big deal refretting a new neck in that, you know, it's time and money, but to me the playability of the neck is everything really. There's not if you don't get that right then you might as well not bother with the way it looks or any of the other aspects of it, and you know, there's no point even putting expensive even pickups in it, because it won't make you want to pick it up and play it. So getting the neck right is just critical. So there's no real time expense spared really to get this right. And if the basic frets are they're okay, the ones that are default on here, but they're not level enough, and I don't want to start by losing fret life trying to level these things into submission. It's funny because these necks, there was a period of time when these necks came with very level frets. They were great, and then they just got a bit, you know, random again. Anyway, we shall see. I've got a few spare necks here, but most of them have already been, in fact all of them have already been pre-drilled, so I could either make a new body to match the existing neck. I don't think there's anything that would by chance match up with the holes in this 21 body. As it is, I can't remember what happened to this neck, because I've drilled it and I think I will have probably have made a neck somewhere. I've reused it, that's what's happened. Anyway, so because I'm not sure, because I'm not working with a neck and body that I originally paired, I'm going to have to be very careful to watch out and make sure that everything fits, and my kind of go no-go point is if something doesn't line up, then I would rather stop and make a new body altogether, a new shape altogether, and start again really. With this design I'm very comfortable and familiar making it, so it's not a massive, wouldn't be a massive amount of time to build another one. Okay, well you see how quick this works. So I'll clean out the slots with a fret slot saw, make sure they're all running smooth, and then I'll cut or shape, or actually I'll re-radius the fingerboard just to make sure it's a nice shape. Make sure it's 16 dead on, and then I'll bend the wire to 16 and we'll cut lots of little bits of wire ready to go, and then I must go and reorder some more. Funny thing about this neck is that by and large they perform as well, if not better, than that recent warmoth neck that I had, a Wengi warmoth neck for several $100, and that just twisted and out of shape. Who knows why? Okay, so we got our 1600 and put on a variety of different sandpapers here, but we'll go with some 120. We don't really need to start with 80. We don't need to totally reshape it. To mark this, and then tear it so. I'm just going to basically sand the surface of this until it's, I'll check it's flat first and then I'll sand the surface of it, just to make sure that it's nice and clean and smooth and there are no highs and lows, because that's a really critical thing. If you're fretting something, you've got to start off with a smooth, that didn't work, did it? A smooth fingerboard. So important thing to check the levelness of the neck, and they got tons of rosewood. I don't know if actually this is rosewood anymore. They may have replaced it with black wood to get around the sights things, but it's yeah, it's good and straight, that actually. I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to put that in there. I'm going to put that on there, so. And then do a bit of sanding. So the aim is just to get it to close to 16 as possible. Of course, the other thing worth doing, this is alright, what we could do now, if we got the bulk of it there, we could now go to a lighter grip. But the thing to do at this point is to check the truss rod actually works, because you don't want to be putting tons of effort into a neck and then find out it doesn't adjust. Okay, so we adjust it, we'll let it catch up for a minute, and I might I'll let it bend. Then what I'll do is I'll switch that for a 180 piece, a little bit finer grip. And then, before I do any fretwork, what I'll do is I will look at the curve. Yeah, it's not massive, but it's curved. Come back here. Luckily these are slightly magnetic because they're stored magnetically. Okay, so I'm just going to slack that back off. This is, what's that on there? What I want to do is I want to also just curve these off, but I won't necessarily do that just yet. I could do that on the, I'll do it by hand actually. Just a little bit square for my liking. So I'm just going to put my 120 on. This time I'll turn it round just for a different approach. So it's flat again now. Got a little white, I don't know what that is, a little white imperfection there. But I'm not worried. It's only a tiny cosmetic thing. What I'll do is, while I'm at it, just check the radius. Yeah. Okay, that's 16. Pretty good. So now the thing is with this, if we use the fret saw, it cuts away the little binding bits at the edge, but that's fine because we'll either fill it with the fret ends, or if necessary we'll refill it with an epoxy of some kind. So I'm just going to use this to gently, if I can, just clear out the slots. What was that? Okay. So there's different approaches that I take to this. Sometimes, as I say, I take an existing neck and upcycle it. Slight difficulty, of course, with these. I mean, that's really good to do on the headless ones, but on these ones with headstocks, harder to do because I need the material to carve the custom headstock. So it really does have to be a paddle neck. And what I've discovered is, you know, the price ranges go from the sort of 30 quid Chinese range like this to the £150 range, which sort of makes making the rest of the guitar a bit economically unaffordable for most people, so, or for a lot of people. So I would rather upcycle something like this and make it play the way I like, and you know, lose a bit of time on it, but be certain that it's going to play the way I want, than to add £150 to the price, which, funnily enough, I would probably still have to do some fretwork somewhere on that as well. It's not a guarantee of dead level frets. Anyway, so this is a good way of making sure that the slots are all cleaned out and ready to roll, and then you can give it a little final going over with a little bit of something smooth, just to take off any shine of the blade. Now there's some little tiny pull-outs there from the, what do you call it, from the fret pulling, but those will be covered up by the new jumbo fret tangs anyway, so that's not a problem. So there we have a nicely sanded down neck. There is this little sort of dark, a little light spot down here. I don't know what it is. It's sort of, something's stuck in there. I'm just going to put my special glasses on. Close up a look. Not that one. This one. Let's see. A little bit of lifting rosewood as well. I'm going to stick that down. So it's a good time now to take care of any chips or imperfections. Now where's that coming away? Just there. I got it. Ah, right, okay, my soldering iron's come back on. Don't really need it. Okay. So that's that. Again, we can just polish out, sand out very lightly any leftover. Okay, good, good. Very good. Stay, stay, stay. Okay. I'll just go over it with a 400 grip when the time is right. Accelerator. Now alongside the refretting of this, I'm going to reshape it as well. So that involves flipping it over and doing some filing. As well as this, don't trust blowing out the slots. When it comes to refretting, you've got to make sure that they're all scraped out. Okay, so I've got to go and make a template for this. This is pretty good all the way to there. It's a little bit squared here because I had to thin it down. So that's a simple way of doing that at this point is to use the scraper blade. And it's a really nice way of shifting some material in a smooth way. And then we can kind of turn it back into a little bit of curve. We're going to sand this, I don't know what word is, file that off anyway. So I'm just taking away this slightly flat edge here before we do the major filing. So it's just kind of working a slightly more rounded piece like that. But a blade is a great way to reshape a neck. So that's now pretty much back to where I want it. And of course I can also pull up a bit of 180 for example and just hand shape this now to where I want it. Obviously there's more to do. I need to reshape the whole end bit. I'm just going to get this basically where I want it at this end of the neck. I'm just going to sort of round out this curve here. See what's right. Yep. Now also, what I don't want is such a sharp edge down the fingerboard. So I'm going to round this before we go any further. And the same on the other side. Now you see it looks all sawdusty and mucky at the moment, but obviously that will all clean up, especially when you come to put some oil on it later on. Glasses on at the moment. Okay, so now we're getting a smoother feeling neck. a nice feeling neck actually. Okay, so the fun part then, we go into filing mode. And it's not, no. Okay, so you can see, yeah, you can see what we've got to shape. So I do have a bobbin sander, but I don't find that hugely easy to use for this sort of thing. I feel much more confident using a, using a file. So not that one though. And you could, if you wanted to, if it suited you, you could scrape this. But being able to just get it going, but shove all this stuff out of the way. I have to tidy up. I know. I can be in the untidy stages just right now. I've done all the precision work on a few other guitars earlier on. So I'm just putting this out here so I can file away. But ideally, I still want it a bit more like this. If I can get it to stay, we might need two. Stay open. Still waiting for tea. But you are. Loving Mr. Strafe at this. Our adopted us cat. Okay, so here I've got a bit of room. It's not going to be the strongest fix, but as you can hear, it's making other things down here rattle, which is somewhat annoying. So let's just put that under a bit of load. Right. So I'm aiming to take off this shape here and come stop right on this line. Not the ideal. Wrong button, Samuel. Now you can see that we could do with a better setup. This, I don't want to put it in a clamp exactly because it feels a bit brutal. So I could probably do with some sort of clever jig arrangement to hold this down more firmly. But hey, look, another magnet. Can't get it off. They're forever turning up, these magnets. Very handy. I keep buying them and using them for the electrics covers, but they are very, once they get their mind set to being stuck on something, they're incredibly difficult to move. Thank you. Go there. Right, where were we? Just sort of second hold. Okay, so I'm trying to bring this up. I want to go in a curve from there downwards, so I have to sort of go across and remove this bulk of this heel for starters. Hold it like this, even. So it's quite tricky. It's a hand operation. See where it gets to, and eventually you want to then go round and round, and you don't want to go any lower there, but actually if you mark it up, the extent where it starts raising is really about here, so you've got quite a long way to go before you're in risk of carving down into the neck. But it's nice to do it in stages. Come on, can we just... very good idea that I'm trying. Okay, so again, I'm following this line, curving around, and that follows the graceful curve of the heel part of it. Obviously right now this looks pretty rough and ragged. There, it will feel a lot nicer. And then around about here you can start to feel where it still has a little bump joining the neck. This side is a little bit different again because it's a shorter curve, it's a tighter dig away. So using a technical term. Again, sort of similar thing applies. We're trying to dig down to meet the original profile of the neck. And you can see we're getting close to it. Now it's still quite a long way to go, so we can take a bit more down here and walk it outwards to the marker, the boundary line, I suppose you can call it. That feels about right. Just blending it in now. If I can. Yeah, that little bump's still there, which we can get rid of. Nice. Round this off. It's annoyingly disconnected. That is almost good on that side. Sort of dig in the curve there a little bit just to steepen it. Blend it into where it meets the rest of the neck. About there. Okay. So you can see we've reshaped the profile there, and it's a matter of hand work now, but you can also now get the blade going again. Any kind of blade, doesn't even have to be a proper cabinet scraper or any such. The blade itself, a cheap 10p blade, will really help to see where you're going, and you can feel the meeting line, and then we can sand it all out at our leisure. All we really want to do is not go below that line in there. That's kind of important. Yeah, as long as we're sort of stop above the line, we're in good shape. Okay. You still see some file marks and stuff, but it's starting to look about right. And of course, let's put it together now, get a feel for what's developing. Now I always like to keep this as airtight as possible, so the fact that that fits in and fits in really snug is absolutely how I want it. There you go. So now you can see the join between those two components is much more organic, and the neck profile, the neck heel now matches the curve on the body, and of course it makes this area really easy to get to. Now on this guitar, different to 20, I reduced the horn on this, so the horn's it's more offset. It gives you much more freedom of movement there, which I'm pleased about. So that is all looking good, and we'll have the 2 bolt attachment on the back here. Okay, I'm going to stop that for a little bit now. Just want to show you starting this off. I'm going to round these edges off a little bit. I might need to oil that to get that darker. I don't know what that little white spot is there, but we just really need to now sand this. Perhaps continue some scraping to I don't know which this needs re-burnishing now, but so very careful scraping to get this to sanding state. And this has got a very light polyurethane finish, but we're going to add to that later on when we come to refinish it. Okay, so I'm just trying to blend these 2 parts together as well as I can, smoothly as I can, and make sure there's no sort of visible, tangible joints, but actually it feels very, very nice. So we can now we could either just do some more gentle work with the blade, or we could get some sandpaper on there, whichever we want. The blade is probably quite good. This is a bit better than the scraper at this point, because you can control it a little bit more easily. And also you can make sure the lines follow the drawn lines as well with this blade. It's very accurate. So we've got that. It looks really tidy when it follows the line on there. Okay, nearly ready for the sandpaper stage, I think. Lovely. So it's that simple. Maybe a tiny little bump there that I need to just iron out. But it is that simple way of doing this. And when you're done, you have a really organic hand-shaped piece, which feels great. But you can very quickly spot where it needs a little tiny bit of further work. The fingers will tell you very quickly. Lovely, absolutely delicious. And then we still got the mark there is dictated by that, and we've got a pen line there just to kind of confirm where we don't want to sand beyond or shape beyond. But it's such a nice way of doing it. Now, if you want, of course, you can follow the whole of the neck with this scraping technique and reshape the neck to your heart's content, and it's a very nice thing to do. Now, these 16-inch radius Chinese necks happen to be very slim anyway. They're really nice feeling slim necks, so you don't really need to do that full length reshape, but if you wanted to, the blade is a great way of doing it. So that's about perfect. I'll stop there. All right, yay. So I'll send some pictures of progress, so I'll take some shots of this. Maybe a little bit later this evening I'll come back in and I've got to keep doing this. I'll come back in and cut frets so we can line them up and kind of get a feel for how they'll look. But what I like about this is that once we get the bolts in the back, they're just going to pull this snug and into shape, and then the point is we can hang this now anyway. It's not going to go anywhere. It's that snug, as you can see. Okay, so later on I will do the fret cutting, and I'll also come back and draw out a template for this. I might in fact copy one. I had a ready-made one, but I don't know what happened to it. It's a bit annoying because it was spot on. It was silly to start all over again. I have a feeling that is what it must be. It's probably better to begin with a piece of this opaque plastic. Okay, so I'm going to set this out of the way. Oops, there's a scrap there, no, a Tele there. I'm just going to stand her up there, it'll be fine for now. Meanwhile, I'm just going to open up a patient I did earlier on. Now, this was an attempt at fixing a broken Fender scratch plate, and I sort of just wanted to prop it up. It might actually work. So I've used some resin. Fortunately you can't see what you're doing, so that, oh, this isn't holding, is it? Well, that was a nice try. No, okay, resin is not strong enough. So I'm going to need to get a replacement. Once something like this breaks, you really don't get much of a chance at sticking it together. I don't know if anything else will hold. I might give it one more go with Gorilla weld, metal weld stuff, but now part of the problem now is I've lost the clean shape of the brake, I think, because it's got resin stuck in it. If I might be able to empty it out with my fingernails. Anyway, that's not really to do with your guitar, Dave, so I won't bore you with any more. I might just get some clean faces. I'll try it one more time with good old Gorilla stuff, and then I will tidy up and come back later on. See you in a bit. Okay. Quieten the radio down. Okay, so here we are on Dave's custom built Oakcaster. Neck is done. Hooray! In fact, we've got pretty much everything there. Now I have actually done Nick's Telecaster, so that is sorted and ready to be prepared for its travels. So really, this one, just whipping off any excess oil that's built up. This one is now ready to, I think, have the neck joint sorted out. Now, this is going to need marking, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, what's that, a 9? So I'm going to use, I guess it's a smaller, ideally I'd like the same size one, so I'm going to find me the right sized drill bit, and then I'm going to make, hopefully, just going to go through and make a mark on there. So it's going to be an 8, isn't it? Yeah. So just going to literally mark where the position of the what do you call them, threaded inserts are going to be, and this is, I've already checked, this is all knocked together really closely, so I'm right on target with this. So a little mark there, and a nice little mark there, and that's obviously guided by the holes which I've already drilled in this body. So I take out this lovely fitted neck, and there we have the marks on our heel. And what we now do is we're going to go and find the various bits and pieces, which is always a bit of a hassle because I've got stuff that's in the way, and really I want to just be able to get at this box. So in here we've got all the good stuff. Now it depends what I use, tends to depend on the shape of the holes in here. So you could go with a couple of extra long ones, well not extra long, so they sink into there like that. And we could also have, we've got room there for a washer as well, but that might be, in fact not might be, it probably is. Could be. Let's have a look. It might be a little bit too long, so we may have to go for a shorter one. So I'm just going to see if I can do a tiny mark, a small mark on here, just to give me an idea of how much bonk through that would go. Yeah, that would go. Especially if we held it out with a washer or two. But again, we're not obliged to use that. We have smaller ones that we could use. So we could use these, and they come through a lot less, and they'll do the same job. And then just check that into there. That's probably a better grip. Much as I like those, pretty much the same thing, only shorter. These are just newer. So we've got a couple of these here. They're nice chunky hex bolts, and they get done up with something like, I'm all short on these, that's the problem. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It will be this one here, which I am short of. Okay, so now that matches with a pair of these threaded inserts, and if we want to go with washers, I have a pile of washers somewhere else as well. Let's see if we can find some kicking around. There we go. So we have a couple of washers that will do the job perfectly well. So that is all we need for this precision neck joint. But the secret of this is to get this drilled down to the, now I can never remember what these are. I do this every time and then I forget it. So the top diameter of this is the, on please, 0 please. Okay, so the core diameter of this is 11, and then on the outside of that we've got what probably comes to 13, which is telling me 14 at the widest. About 14, so 11, 14, so we've got probably 3mm of fluke. So if we go 12, we need to drill a 12, which isn't going to be one of these. It's going to be a bigger, chunky drill. See, I just don't need stuff on top of there. You don't have a box with things you use all the time and then put things on top of it. Okay, we've got 12mm there, which gives us a firm footing. That's probably the best 12mm. What have we got here? 13. 13 I think is a bit loose. So I think 12. What did we say? We said 11 on our core, and then the outside of the thickest or the widest part of these two flukes things. 13, nearly 14. So I reckon 12. Did I do 13 last time? If I did 13, then, but I've got what appears to be the correct depth already set on this 12, so I'm going to go with 12 since I've done it before. And we also have what is a 12 here as well, already preset, and actually that's a nice drill. That one is looks like it's for a deeper setting. Actually no, that one was designed to go all the way down in a heel and stop short, but actually it's too long for there. But that is definitely a 12, and I'm not sure which is the best one for cutting. Either one will do. Let's choose that one and let's put a marker on it. Now the thing with this is, if we're convinced that the bolts aren't going to go further than the end of this, you can drill them deeper and allow the bolts to go through further, in which case you just need to make your hole that you drill deeper than your hole there. Now in this case we're going to sink a 3 mils worth of spike on the end of here. I don't know what the correct term for that is. So we really have to sort of take that into consideration as we're drilling the hole. So the marker for me of depth is going to be that plus a bit, because we want a bit beyond the actual hole, and then really come around like that. It's not very precise, but it will do. Okay, so then just double check that against your piece. So we go from the top down to there. That's fine. 2 holes matched with the 2 holes there. Going to sink these 2 in. We got 12. We got 13.5, 14. It's going to be enough room to grip with some glue. So then what we do is we clear away the path. Oh God, this is moving. I keep killing brushes because I don't wash them out. Sorry. So I'll chop this off. See if I can put that under there. Is that? That'll probably do, but I need to get this in the whatever that thing's called, the chuck. This old drill is a bit stiff, so I probably need to do some greasing or something. It takes quite a while to open up the chuck to use a big drill. So sorry about this. It will eventually get there. I don't really want to put WD-40 in it or anything like that. It just feels a bit like the wrong solution. But I don't know how to dismantle the chuck. I suppose there'd be plenty of YouTube videos telling me if I really wanted to know. Come on, will you fit in there, please? Right, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be opening up. Yes, it does. Oh, blimey, eventually. Right. Lots of grunting noises. Okay, so there's my drill in place. Now, I don't want to put it on top of the frets. I would rather support it, so it probably works better if I've got a radius block to hand. Do I have one? 725. Oh, it's the wrong one. It's 10. Oh, for God's sake. And it's the one on the bottom. So, theoretically, I could support that on there, like that. And gently get that. Now, that's now too high. So I'm going to have to drop down this, which again is very stiff with old age. It's a quality old drill. Sorry if I should be letting you see this with this new magical arrangement. Oh, look, we're practically on the mark. I'm just going to hold that to there. Well, there we go. That's about as straight up as we're going to get. I like that. Let's get rid of some of these accoutrements that are going to get in the way. You stick there. I tend to use my drill as a sort of catch or hold over every damn thing I'm using. Drill bits, thingies, but it's really critical to get this on target. So let's see what we can do. Looks good, feels good. I'm just going to have a quick check. Now that's getting some slight bit of sanding going on the frets there, but that's okay. It holds it in place, and also I think that will do. That might, yeah. It's also not a problem because I'm going to be I'm going to be, what's the word, leveling these frets out at some point anyway, so it's going to get sanded over and polished out. Okay, let's get it spinning. Wood out. should be that. I'm just going to put this out of the way. Need to tidy up over here. As you can see, it always becomes the sort of messy warehouse store pile. Okay, so undo this, drop you down. Now we're into the fun part. This is called the glue and do, glue or die. I'm going to use Type 1 3. I don't know why, just because I've got that as well as Type 1 2. I've got more of 3 than the 2, and I'm going to squirt some out, and I'm going to be generous with it. There we go. Make sure it's all down the sides. This stuff's different. It's got a, it looks like Madagascan vanilla vanilla custard. This Type 1 4, 3, whatever it is. It's very different texture to the original. So this is a fun bit. So you get your insert on there and give it a bit of a thing. Now with this, there's never enough stuff in the whole hole to require blocking off the end of here, but it can be on smaller things. You can want to block off the bottom, and you can do that with a little bit of sticky paper, cellophane, sellotape or something. Okay, so here we get the thing, and now we want this to go in straight, and that's why a good long Allen key is a good idea, although this one obviously doesn't give you truly, but you can get a feel for when you're sending it straight in. Ideally, I suppose a straight one without the ball end would work at this point. So now what I'm doing is I'm using this to cut, just quite carefully, nothing too extreme. I'm cutting a slice into the maple, and it's sort of working its way in to take this piece right down to a nice fixed place, and that we can check how far that's down. We can just wipe off the excess on the top, and really what we care about is that it's a fairly straight 90 degrees up, which it is, and actually it's I'd say that's either on one point that's just flush or slightly below the surface, so that's fine. So we do the same thing with the other one, and again it's if you think at this stage, if you think you're going off the vertical, you have to sort of ditch it and start again, and it really is a bit of a feel and thing. If one way of quick check is if you start that and you're looking at good, that's vertical, and stick with it. It doesn't really give you much leeway once you've started going, so you've got to get that initial bite pretty much vertical. That's looking all right. Tiny bit, if anything, it's leaning a tiny bit inwards. So what you could do at this stage is, if you really want to, you could sort of turn it and sort of lean it a little bit, but not that much, and then just double check. Yeah, let's actually straighten that up. So again, what I'm doing is I'm not using the full lever of this, in its full lever mode. I'm doing this by hand. I want this to go in under kind of, well, not hand, I don't want to crank it with the full lever action. I want to get it in just under hand tightness, which of course it's all under hand tightness, but I think you get what I'm getting at. And when I think I'm there, just stop that. Okay, then we can throw away this little bit. That's what I mostly use these things for, them like that throwaway work area. Right, so here's the fun part. Having now inserted those in, they're going to obviously take a while to dry. But now what we do, we can put this back here. Drop that in, push it into place, make sure it's nice and solid. And I do actually have a larger one here. We can get our, can you see? Yeah. Take our thingy. Like that. That one in there. That one in there. Actually, what I often do at this point. Sorry about that. I like to give it a little tiny dab of grease as I go in on both sides. Okay, so we hold this up. We get our, that's actually not the right size, is it? No. So we'll use the one I had in mind already. Now this one, the correct size one. Is that even the right size one? Yeah, it is. I just haven't cut it properly. Okay, so then I'm just going to do this up by hand. I don't want to overstress it because the glue's got yet to dry and whatever, but I can get a pretty tight, nice flush surface grip on that. And that is the joint, and then just check down here, have a look. It's nicely lined up with the neck on both sides. Everything feels darned good. And it's a flat profile, so a flat join. So we have a choice usually of two different kinds of bridges, and we can come down here and we'll end up with a Strat style bridge working here. We wouldn't want to go, it's not got an angle, so we wouldn't want to use a Gibson style. We'd want I sound like John Major. We'd want a Fender style bridge, which could even be something like, might even use the half size Telecaster bridge, which is a really nice looking thing for that kind of guitar. Gold. I think it's a bit classier. In fact, I have one here. But anyway, we'll come to that a bit later. So I'm going to now just hang this up. That's it for its night. It's done as much as I'm going to do now. Although I do have, I suppose it could help things along. I do have tuners sitting over here. Now, the question is, are the holes the correct size? But we can find out soon enough. Dun, 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 dun. Magic Calm, do your thing. Let's have a look. We may need a little bit of reaming. Oh no, just go look at that, beautiful. Now the question is, did I get this exactly right? And do they sit side by side without any upset? Yeah, they do. Beauty. Okay. Now I won't do these over tight just yet, but they're just going to lay them in there in position, and it's good because then it means I can put on a bunch of strings. Damn, I'm missing the. How far I put them somewhere? Where have I put them? I'm going to have to go on the hunt. They are here. Anyway, right. Let me just put these on, and I'll go search off camera for the other bits. I don't know where they've gone. So anyway, the point is, I can get these. If I get these all in place, then I have the option to put some sacrificial strings on and do the fret leveling well and set up well in advance of everything else. So, but it's all, you know, all the parts are here, so we don't really have to hold back on anything. In fact, I could do most of this tomorrow, so that would be a pleasant surprise to get up well ahead of the game. There you go. Nice. Okay, what's going on here? What's going on here? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Oh, am I sitting? Oh, I'm leaning. Okay. Ah, that's bizarre. Oh, I put the other ones on at an angle, didn't I? That's what I did. I did that. That's how I did it. I remember saving space to keep everything real close together. That's how it was. If you do it the other way, you have to use different tuners. Oops. No. That was the logic of them being so close together. See that? Right, I thought I'd gone mad there. Right, now I seem to have not only lost, I've lost some. I'm going to go looking. I shall hang this up and go looking for the other bits, but there you have it. How cool is that? Yeah, I'll do. So that's the neck join done in a time-honoured way, and like I say, I now have to go and discover where on earth I've put those other bits. But you can see that's a nice looking beastie, getting close to ready to play. Custom made Oakcaster with a yew and oak. It's going to be 2 humbuckers, which are here up there, but I've now got to dig through all of my stuff and find where I put these. I'm missing, what am I missing? Two of the screw fit ferrules and 2 of the washers. Ah, boy. Alright, see you later. Hey, good morning day. Right, what am I doing? Well, I am just getting a nut ready for this, and I'm going to choose between one of 2 bridges. And the bridges I have available are a Stratocaster style bridge or a Telecaster style bridge, and they both look great. The Telecaster style one is simple and convenient, but it's black with some brass, and the Stratocaster one is all gold, which looks more blingy. Anyway, I'm just flattening down a curved nut so it'll make it nice and fit with this beautiful. I can take a bit more down actually. That's what's nice about these. I buy them curved because if necessary I'll use them. They'll work in a curved slot, but if not, they're tall enough to file down and do this with. So now I've got a flat base and there's still plenty of room with a nice radius, but I'll obviously cut that down and rework some of the slots. So that's cool. The reason I'm just putting it on quickly at this moment in time, because I want to just I want to do a sort of quick comparison of the heights. This is actually drilled. The holes, pilot holes, are actually drilled for this bridge at the moment. It comes down to 2 things really. One, does it work with the angles and the height above height of the strings, or would the other work better? So I'm going to get both out and have a look. Talk about bling. Wow, that is pretty. Yowzer. Okay, well that does look good, especially with all the other bling, I have to say. Now what I can't quite do this second, let's just move that back here. I want to get onto the thing. Okay, so that's got to go down a fair bit, whereas this is a bit lower to begin with. That's the interesting thing. Let's just try one of these a minute. I don't want to be too low. Let's try and see what we got. It actually isn't the right thing. Let's try this one. Thank you. I've got a headache brewing. It's only a Sunday. Shouldn't have a headache on a Sunday. Okay, so if I'm about halfway and it's the right height, then I'll go with this blingatastic. And if it's not right, now what I can't actually do, think about this. Can I get it on there? Let's have a look. Oh no, that's flopped off the thing. Okay, there's my... That's about right. Let's go with that one. Halfway down. Okay, so we'll put this one back away. In fact, we'll put that in there. Now what I've got to do first is I've got to re-measure this, because this has been a while since I've done anything with it, so I want to make sure that the distances are correct for this. Now, it's slightly difficult because I don't have, it's already oiled, so I can't really stick any paper to it, which is always usually a good way of lining up where things fall. What I'll do is I'll just double check this. So we've got actually it's 323.5, so it's actually a little short. That's okay, it's close. So 323.5 is 647 really. So our our intonation point at 647. Just keeping a moved it, but I saw where it was. It's not very stable. Can't make a mark on there because it's oiled. Right, 647. I'll just double check that. 640. 47.5. That's fine, and then we'll work out backwards from that. So the point about this is, and again, it would really help if I had some. This wasn't sticky. No, sticky. It wasn't oil, but it is, so I have to live with it. So let's get a sharp pencil, because we can draw on top of the oil just about. Oh, brilliant. It's always the way. Cut it too hard and you chop the end off. Okay, so the idea here is we look at the preset intonation, and there's enough room to go back a bit more, so it's also actually it's halfway along its length. That's what they've done. So if we take that as our guide mark, what we want is the high E. We want high E to be on the 647 mark. Now that's a little bit difficult to draw, again, without being able to put any stuff on there. So what we really need to do is extend this line past here. Just to be on the safe side. I'm going to use the what do we call it, the pickup route as a guide line. Okay, it's pretty much in line with that. I'll just make a little mark here and I can wipe that off afterwards. Be careful. Okay, so there's our mark. Now if I take that as our start point, then what we can do is we need to get this just squared off against that, which we have to go with the pickup route. There's not really a lot else we can do. And then we need a midpoint as well, which is also quite critical. So you either redraw a midpoint, or what is probably better to do is attach a couple of test things to it. So I prefer to do that. So let's get a couple of cables, you know what I mean, strings is what they're called really, and we'll hook them up. Now at the moment these are temporary tuners, well slightly, because I've got some more, what are those things called, ferrules coming, because I lost 3 of them or something. I don't know why. I found 2 of the washers, but I've lost the other bits, so I'm going to get some of those. I've got some of those coming, replacements, but for the time being this will hold enough to do this job. Now we're going to load these through the back here, as we would in real life. It'll be a little bit fiddly because the string's all bent and it doesn't want to behave very well. Yeah. Right, come on, can we get it through? Oh, can we? How? Yay, 1. And then this one. So this is really critical for ensuring that you're going to get the alignment down the middle of the neck correctly. Okay, so that will do for now. Now this is a slightly tricky thing, because you've got to wind this on without the the strings coming off and flopping about all over the place. So you do need a bit of help to keep them on the posts. Now I've left my tuner, my string winder inside, so I'll just have to do it by hand, which will take some time. Anyway. Right, so the idea is to get this tight between the tuner and the capo, and then this, it doesn't matter too much that the nut is going to flop about. Yes, well I made one slight mistake. I need to get this up and this under here. Ooh. Homer J. Simpson. Okay, something like that will do. It's just, if you don't do that, what will happen is your strings will come off the tuner posts and it'll just be really frustrating. Okay, so I'm going to, no, see, I can't even do it. Can't even help it on its way. So let's go through there. and do it there. Move those out of the way. Can I pull that through there a bit? Yeah, right. So it's not actually done up very tightly. Stay on there, please. But it's got to just do to hold it in place. And then what I'm going to do is, once we get this roughly taut, I'll then move the bridge around physically until it's in the right location, and then I'll draw in the screw holes. Now the original 4 screw holes that I had set up for a Tele style bridge we'll just ignore because they'll be under the bridge anyway. It does look nice out of the bridge, but it's not quite as blingified as this, particularly when we've got all the rest of the gold hardware. We might as well go the whole hog. Now it's just fallen into the heel. Let's just do this up. So this is where it becomes a little bit sort of fiddly, trying to keep things vaguely under tension and in position and wind them in. Now obviously this one I'm going to pull taut as well and slack it off a little bit and allow us to come all the way back. So this is where it becomes a bit of an interesting game. So pulling back now on the bass string, and then we're just really going to hold it there. So what I'm looking at this point in time is the spread of the strings down the neck. That's really critical. Hopefully, I'm hoping this is going to let me get back to where I want to get to. A bit clumsy, as I say, but get back to where I want to get to. This is clamping it down quite well. Let's keep this under tension here. I'm wandering off in different places, and I want to come back. You see, this is a bit crude. It's nicer to be able to do it on the centre line first off, but we can't really do that. Okay, so we're coming back now to the initial line, and that's going to drop off there. Okay, so we're kind of pulling these tight. We're getting backwards to where we want to go. And there's my mark. Okay, there's my mark. It's a little bit further to go back. Problem is here, actually, this is going to drop off the bass string. Is going to fall off, I think. Let's put that on to keep that as taut as possible. Okay, there's my mark for the scale length. I still need to go back a little bit on this one, and likewise on this one, and push just to level it out. Okay, there's our mark. We are almost on it. Back we go. Okay, that's the mark. That's good. Okay, so now you can see that I've got a pretty simple moving backwards and forwards situation here. I'm on the mark both sides. What I really need is just a kind of a nice 90-degree line, and then put it down and move it to where it can. It aligns best down the middle, and then make sure it's steady. Now if I'm happy with that, I can't really, it is quite difficult to do actually because it wants to kick up. So I'll do it with that hand. So basically, if I'm happy with that, checking it out there, I'm going to make these 2 marks here, 1 and 2, and that moved, God darn it, that's alright, got it back. Okay, and then just line that up there again, put it on the mark, and then I can do the back ones as well. It's again moved, but I can keep it still. Okay, so that's my 4 marks for this bridge, taking into account the scale length I'm looking for. What I notice about that, before I go any further, is that it's quite wide for this neck. So So what I really want to know is what the width is, because this may dictate a different choice. So I'm going to go middle to middle of these screws here, which gives us 52 at the bridge there. And now this one kind of does a similar thing. And this one is slightly wider there, but I guess you can run a little closer in if you need to. Let's just have a look at this. Where's our mark? So that's our hole. Actually, this is forward of the mark. We would need to be here to make this one work. What I might do is I might just redo this game with the other one, just to see what the maximum width or minimum width is, because that one works. It's just quite precisely close. Now I've got the marks anyway. If I want to use it, that's fine. But this one, come on, this one, and do the same thing with, back through, and then we'll the mark or the position applies. So I mean, this is a different neck from what it would have been set up with the first place, which accounts for why it's different in the mark on the screw holes. That's the main difference. Okay, can we get onto there? Have we got enough? We probably don't have enough wire. That's because that's short. Let's just use another longer but not so thick string. Let's use the G, a bit more distance. Just throw it on the floor, shall we? Try and pick it up. Okay, it doesn't really matter. It's not the right string. It's just to give us that extra distance to pull back. So bend quick on there, see if we can get it to bite. Sorry, it's a bit fiddly, this stuff, but time spent getting this right now makes a big difference. As I say, it will work as is, but when you're that close to the edge, you've got to be incredibly spot on with your positioning. You don't have any leeway at all down the neck. Okay, so I'm just going to keep pulling this in to the correct distance, and then what I'll do is I'll lock it off with the capo, and then I'll just line up the other string. Okay, so we're going to go with the top E here on the mark where we start from, okay, which will be there. Okay, and I'm going to capo this temporarily while we get this tangled up, and try and put it on here. Right, that'll just be fiddly, so let me just wind that on as best I can. It's gone under the nut because this isn't screwed down properly. It's not really the proper tuners. I'll just want it on enough for the time being. Okay. So this will, what I can do now is I can do two things. I can check the width using this thing and whether we get any leeway to decrease it and get it a bit closer to where I want it. I'll just lock that under there a second. Don't want that to come off. Yeah, we can check if we got any difference in the width here, in which case we'll use this bridge. if it's just runs a slight tiny bit narrower, and if not, we'll go back to the Strat one, and then we can mark this as well while we're at it, which will be its new position, different from the old original holes. This is taking forever to get into place. That's what happens when you don't have a string winder. Come on, down you go. Yeah, my camera's about to drop off the Velcro up there, look at that. Okay. Yeah, the different necks sometimes have a different amount of wood at the end, which affects where they push the scale length or the bridge position to. And this obviously the original bridge for this was, sorry, the original neck for this obviously was pushed further out than this is. Come on. Now where are we? Right, back to our mark. Let's have a look. Let's have a feel, look and a feel. Okay, this is actually pretty much identical spacing. Judging by this, let's just lift those off and put them back again without too much distortion. Yeah, it's going to run at almost exactly the same. Bouncing it there. So I think we better use the other one, unless I can, I can pull these in a tiny bit, which I think you probably can. It has a natural place where it wants to sit, that's the only thing, and it will, I think it will tend to fall back to there. But you can tell it where to be. It will obey. What do you think? I think we need that leeway actually. Okay, I'm going to go with this. Now there's my middle point. So I'm going to line this up very carefully. It doesn't do what I want it to do, it lifts up. So let's put this back in place. We've got tons of room, so that's too far forward, but that's okay. Now let's line that up in position there. Thanking you. Does that look good? Looks good to me. Hold it down, nice and solid. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's our new bridge positions, and I'll wipe off everything else that doesn't work with this. It's slightly off to the side, interestingly, because this neck is fitting differently as well into the neck pocket. Again, so it's all very individual to the neck in question. It's got to be. There's no universal thing. Right, so we're going to go with this one for that flexibility, which is cool. Which I'm going to now chuck away these strings, chop them. Why did I cut that one in half? Oh, I do need to cut that one. Get it out of there. Right, yeah, we'll give ourselves that little bit of extra room using this bridge. And it's still pretty elegant. It's not quite as blingy as the other one, but it's the functionality that we're after, really. Function first. Okay, so what that means, when this is placed, we're going to need to lose a couple of these little marks here. I just need to rub them off. We'll get them cleaned up with a bit of rag. Okay. Which is actually the plus side of having oil on there. It sort of complies pretty well. So we go back to there, we've got the, we should have, we've got a hole that should go through. I haven't pushed the thing through it. Did it go through to the cavity? Yeah, thankfully. Prepared, you see, for a bridge thingy. Earth. There you are. Okay, so I'm going to mark a center point on each of these little circles. Again, by eye. That's fine. And then I'm going to get a drill bit. Very handy. And I'm going to make a mark dead on these center points, and that's going to become the basis for the bridge footing. Thank you. There you go, fella. Hey, no, don't skate off. Right. So we will have somewhere, there they are, what's it? Screws. Nice chunky screws. We'll need to drill the pilot holes for that, and then we need to get an earth through here, which we can do with a simple piece of wood there. I've been using some of this speaker wire for this purpose on the recent guitars, so all it needs to be is a copper, but what I like about this is that it gives us a bit of a spread, quite a lot of copper to go, stick out and catch the plate, so we're pretty guaranteed to get a contact. The plate, by the way, is covered in paint on the underside, and we need that scratched off really to make an electrical contact, so we do have to keep that in mind. So what I do here is just give myself a whole kind of swathe of raw fresh copper, stick out and catch screws and whatever. That's a nice earth point here, and then obviously it has to be able to go through the hole, which I think is just small enough. Yay! And obviously we need a little bit of cut at the other end to catch onto the pots wherever they're going to be. I think I cut rather a lot off there. Don't want to do that. Let's do this slightly differently. I'll get a bit longer, since we're not exactly short of this stuff. I'll go longer because what I want is for the, I just want to make enough room to come out the other side without having to cut it first, because that will just make it difficult to go through the hole. But we do need it set up on this end before we fit the bridge. Now, since we've got the neck already fitted and everything's fine in that department, there's no real reason why not to fit the bridge now fairly soon, which just means drilling the pilot holes correctly and anchoring it down. Since we might as well pile on. Okay, so there's our nice stuff. Now I'm going to get some sandpaper on the underside of here, just to make sure that we get a good contact, metal to metal. Again, this doesn't matter what it looks like on this side, but we want to make a good contact for the earth then. There you go. That's that. And then this will go through like this. That's all that has to go through there, so we can afford to stick out miles. We've already got the earth wires coming through here as well, so that's the jumpers, I call them the ground jumpers. So that needs to come through to about there. And actually, while we're at it, let's tuck it away somewhere in here if we can, roughly, just for now. That needs a little bit of adjustment. bit of tweaking to do here. It's sticking up. Get out of the way. Thank you. Yeah, small amount of tweaking. Right. Now, because I'm handling that blade and conductive paint, now you start to get dirty. What I'm noticing is I'm cutting off. I'm going to do this again. Too many filaments of this stuff that I've chopped off. Could be because my blade isn't sharp enough. So let's just go backwards. Let's go back. Yeah, it's cut through too much for my liking. So we don't need it all. Let's just start again. But this time we've just got to get through the plastic, but not to the point of cutting too much off. It's quite hard to do. I find it hard to do with or without clippers, nail clippers, no, wire trimmers, cutters. Never been able to make them work for me. So I tend to rely on touchy-feely. Okay, I think that's about good. Right, we'll do that again. Still tons of spare material. Come through to just there, just below the surface. Let's stick that out through there for a minute. Okay. Trouble. On there, on there. Alright, we'll put this flat for the time being. Okay, so now we've got a nice load of copper to catch up with that. We'll keep it out of the way of the drills in a minute. So what we need now is pilot holes, and I'm going to look at what we've got here. That's actually a pretty good, it might be fractionally too large. Let's check. We don't want it the same size, we want it to have some bite, but we don't want so much that it runs the risk of stripping. So we have 3.5 there and 297 there, so it's just a fraction under. What have we got there? 4. We don't want that one. That's this one. So we have 3.5 versus 2.5. I think that's a better choice. It gives us. It's a fairly soft wood, this yew, relatively speaking. It's not like if this was Eki, I wouldn't take the risk of trying to drive in a millimetre's worth of difference. Right, here we go. So I'm going to go down. My head's hurting. Down to this marker here, which is approximately nearly, well, just over there, that's about right, just over the depth of the threaded screw. Bit blunt. Nice hot blunt drill. Okie dokie. Right, look at this. Now let's line this up in line with one of these holes. It looks good. And now let's find an appropriate driver bit. These little bridges are very good because they're designed, they can be used either with a string through the body arrangement, or they can be used rear mounted. I mean, with the string coming through the far wall of the thing. You know what I'm saying. So obviously I'm going to now get these lined up as well as I can, and be cautious not to kind of lock any one of them down so that we get anywhere off the mark. We've got to trust the positioning of the holes now to bring them all together to the right place. And then do a bit of thingy. Thank you. you. All good. All good. Wow. Hitting a knottier bit, I expect. Okay, so now I'm just looking at this positioning carefully now. First one position. Let's position the first one, see what we get. First one down. Line up the outside one. That should position it nicely, and then these two are now really just security. What we hope that those don't do is move it anywhere else. Okay, that's nice, good and solid. Now what I prefer to do at this point is to also give it a little bit of a hand turn as a sort of final thing. And not too much, just enough. Okay, that's rock solid. Interestingly, these are a tiny bit proud of the countersink, which means they probably could go in a little bit more, but I'm a little bit nervous about doing that. I don't know why. I can't really afford to strip them, but they are designed to go in further, which I'm going to leave it. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that far back in the intonation process, so I don't think there's any need to over tighten them just now. So I'm going to put this beauty away for another use for now. Okay, look, we've got good things here. Gold knobs, push pots, and here we have the gorgeous silver gold coloured, bling coloured humbuckers. Yeah, baby. Again, that's quite cute because that mixes with the black surround, goes with the black surround on these pickups, which is a nice touch. Okay, well, so what we have here, now there is something I'm going to do. On these pickups, I'm trying to mount pickups these days with, well, that's interesting. Are we going to mount them with rings, or are we going to mount them with straight to the body? It's a good question. Straight to the body is kind of handsome, but we'll see that little line there, which is a marker line from previous position. I think we'll go with pickup covers, and the reason for that is that it'll make it easier to adjust. Neck, here we go. So we might not need all this wire down the, all this screw length down the bottom here. Let's just have a see how this fits through here. In the more recent ones I would have made this hole large. I've struggled enough squeezing two lots of humbucker wires through, and you see it's just about struggling to get through with one through this hole, so it might be a struggle. I might have to widen that other hole here, but let's just have a looky. So the idea is this bobber fits in there like that. Yes, now that's quite nice. Has a sort of tidy feel to it. Look at that. Now obviously what's going to be required on that is also going to need to position these as best we can. They look right on the edge of this. They're quite wide spacing. The 52 at the, I think the 52 at the neck, which is an oddly wide spacing. You want them to be a bit narrower, but it's a standard humbucker spacing. Oh no, the 50 at the neck. Okay, it's still quite wide on this particular neck. Okay, so let me look at the hole here. I don't think we're going to get two lots through there. I think we'll struggle. In which case, just to make this life easier for ourselves, take this out. We take this out. Take that out. Push this out back through here. Keep this out of the way. This is the ground anchor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of that hole just to make this an easier thing to do. Now I can either try and use this relatively short one here if I've got the room, because actually the amount of the distance is tiny, so we can do that here. I don't want it to touch anything, so I've got to take a bit of extreme caution going into that corner. There you go. Okay, that's fine. So we now push this little ground wire through again, put it through one more time, flop that one down out of the way. Okay, now we can put this one back through. Now to get these lined up exactly, and there isn't a lot of room actually to play with, so I was going to say what we could do is put a couple of more strings back on and try the line up with these, but like I say, it's almost no room at all, and I think we're just going to have to go with a good close positioning. Now these have sort of currently they've got Les Paul style angled pickup surrounds, which probably would do better with flat ones if we've got them. So let's have a look. We may or we may not have such a thing. And we'll take removing these all again and starting again. We've got wooden ones here which are still on an angle, although they're not a very extreme angle. It's quite nice finish. Let's put those to one side. And we also we've got loads of them. Homemade ones. Oh, they were sweet, but again they've got too much angle in them. We've got round flat bottom girls. There's a flat one. That's a Seymour Duncan, I think. But they're quite useful because if we get two flat ones, I'll just try and get two flat ones of the same. Now that's rounded, that's flat. That's how I feel. Yeah, there really isn't any need for anything larger, or anything angled. So two flatters would do quite nicely. That one's a tiny bit bigger for the back. It's not so bad an idea. Let's see what else we've got. Chrome things. I do like the matte colour on that one, if we had another one of those. And we got these things which aren't even proper covers. And we got a metal one off. Ooh, no. Got a curved one. And then we got some chrome. Okay. I think we're just done. Those. These are the jobbies, although I'll keep those as a second best. Right. So let us get a look and see. So this has to come out again. So while we're fiddling with this, let's hang this up safely. No, let's not hang it up. It's now, let's hang it here. Hang it high. Stay. No, I don't like that. That's okay. Okay, out of the way of that. Right. Okay, so what I'm looking at is which of these work with these. Right. First of all, do they fit through? That's the important thing. Are they broadly the same size? Yes. These are actually curved ones anyway, so they're no good. So let's get a shot of them and replace them with these. Now the other thing I don't need is this huge amount of spring, huge amount of pickup bolts. So we can get rid of some of that. So keep that, keep that, keep that, keep that. Lose that. Thinner of the two. They're almost identical. Let's call this one the front then. While we're here, let's wipe off this glue stuff. Yeah, the question of fitting the pickups to the body or hang them from surrounds, the truth is hanging from surrounds is a much more controllable process, and it's preferable in so many ways. Now a lot of people stylistically prefer the body mounted because it kind of can look really minimalist, and for example on Nick's Oakcaster that's what I've done, but it's actually very difficult, surprisingly difficult to control the behaviour of the pickup, even if you manage to fit it. You know, my experience is you have to fit it using a receiving threaded screw. You just can't basically you can't just screw it into the wood with a self-tapping screw, because it just doesn't seem to work. It does, I mean it will fit, but it'll go into a new hole every time. It very quickly becomes a ragged mess in the pickup cavity, and I hate that. So we try to use some threaded inserts for more accuracy, but the problem you've got is that even with threaded inserts, the minute that you place the pickup in the cavity, your aim point is by definition obscured. That's the neck, right? Your aim point is obscured, and then it just goes messy after that. So you know, even with kind of precision, what do you call it? Precision threaded inserts and bolts at play, it's not quite working the way I want. About the only way I can imagine doing it is to sink a larger kind of well and place the pickups with the with its threaded inserts, place those into the well and seat it there, and then let it set in that position, and then come and kind of adjust it after that. That's about the only thing I can think of that would work. But there's a lot of little assumptions that go on at that point, which is, you know, will any resin get into the threads? Possibly, and in which case by the time it's set you may find yourself with a completely locked up bolt in a threaded insert that's gummed up. That would be not good, very not good. See, look, it's so primitive this, oh my god, how do you get that to bite and stay in place? Luck. A mixture of luck and having your screwdriver set to go in the right direction. Okay, so that's one of the good things about having a box full of spare pickup rings. Now by the time I put these into position, what I'm going to see pretty straight away is that we don't need all this excess what do you call it, excess bolt behind here. So we could chop it off, but I'm just going to wait until I see if there's a need to. I'm not going to do it arbitrarily. Come down, you. Now, the nice thing about this is I can get all of this set up. It's whether I kind of set this up and do the fret leveling now or at the end when it's got pickups in, doesn't really matter too much. It's going to need stringing with sacrificial strings, and then from that point do the fret leveling and final polishing out and so on. So I have no problem doing that with pickups in place. Get this the right way around, would you? Thank you. Okay, so looking at this, that's going to go down a bit more to play, so I'm just checking what's obvious to anybody is that this has got to be below the level of the strings, which it is, although I'm finding that that's still probably too much, so I'm going to clip. I'm going to flatten this out because it's never going to go below the actual level of the pickup surround, so I can afford to lose these two last little bits of screw bolt, which we don't need, like that. And a bit of luck, I'm sure I'd be able to seat this nicely in there without any major hassle, and that will be just below. Yeah, there's plenty of screwing in room, if you get what I'm saying. Now the same thing will apply with the bridge pickup in a moment when I come to place that. So we've got the ground jumpers connecting the two pockets together, so we just pull this one through. We've got the bigger hole, which has just made that a tad easier. Again with this, now this is likely to need to be out further, but we can just have a quick look. Getting all of these 5 wires through in one go is a bit of a faff. Now you've got to remember when you're doing this, your one pickup is still loose because we haven't got any, we haven't put any anchors on it yet. Now we're just trying this out for size and where it sits in relation to the bridge. Now I can feel it sitting on its excess watt-its, which we don't need. Down to the bridge, that's too high. So we can take this, back it out a little bit. So this is quite sticking up quite a bit. That's about right. So whatever's left over on there we can chop off as well to make this job easier. Because we're not going to, well, we'll go a tiny bit more and chop it, just to be on the safe side. That's pretty much levelled off. Lose the excess. You can obviously route a little extra pocket at the bottom there to fit these these long screws, but to be honest I don't see the point. Just take off the excess metal on the screw. Okay, so there's not a lot of room for movement on these, but there is a little bit, so we've got to get it right, and I think this one's easier to do. This one has a bit more room, but again we only really need to have 2 strings on here to be able to test it against. So let me just tighten up very slightly these tuners, just so they're not quite as wobbly as they were a minute ago when I did this. They're only temporary, as I said, but well, the ferrules are temporary, but it still doesn't need them rattling around all over the place. Okay, so we've got solid things, tuners and bridge. So now we can put again a couple guide strings on. This is sort of expensive in terms of crappy strings, but we potentially could leave these on. These are Tele 10s through body, so they're going to be quite long. Let's use those. We'll do the setup on a 10 then, and we can either string it in the end with 10s, or we can change to 9s. It doesn't matter as long as we do it. And the great thing about the setup is it doesn't mind what gauge you use. Of course, it will, how it sits and everything will change with the different gauge strings, but all that happens is then you'll just adjust your neck relief, adjust the truss rod to compensate for a different gauge, and you go from there. Okay, again, so hand tightened. I have got a handmade, a screw drill adapter thing that I think Martin made for me, but I don't know where it's gone. It keeps going somewhere, and I keep magneting it to somewhere else, and then it keeps going somewhere else. So let's say I don't actually have it. Okay, so again, like I said, it's possible to make an adjustment on these. We could put a little notch in here if we really wanted to, if we were forced to pull the adjustment of these strings in a little bit. Don't really want to do that, so we'll see how well we go without that. These strings don't half get threaded up. But what's good is because we're doing 6/3 aside, we can cut these strings back and lose a lot of the curly nonsense, making it hard to feed on. Okay, so obviously the bridge, we're committed to the position of the bridge now. And now the time is now to commit to the placement of the pickups within whatever limited range of movement or options we've got. So let me just get a bit of wind on here. I've got to tighten up the other tuners as well, since we're going to actually put all the strings on now for its first ever string up. We might as well, because now in terms of attaching the humbuckers, we just need to locate those holes and put pilot holes in. And we've got very nice small black pickup mounting screws somewhere in my OCD box. Okay, right, so there's our spacing at the moment without any adjustments, but we can pull in, as I say, and it will eventually, on these brass saddles, you will eventually get a kind of groove wearing into it of its own, but we could sort of ease that problem, speed that up. Okay, so with the positioning now, you can see where the actual bridge screws are going to go. So I get as close to a line-up as possible, and then what I'll do is I'll find a suitable spiky thing and poke it through. Hold it steady. So we want to get it to that position now. It's about as good as it will get. So it's quite a bit of movement, but we want to go sideways. Let's go in there. Should be on the ground actually to do this. Might even be better with. Do we have a pen that will go through and make a mark? Maybe. Sort of. It's not very efficient. Maybe that will go through better. One, two, three, four. Okay, that's the best positioning on those four. Now here we have not a lot of movement on this one, but a little bit, and it's pretty well positioned actually, so we just want to get it for perpendicularness to the bridge. That's all that really matters. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we can't necessarily take these out. If we're going to leave these strings on for doing our fret leveling and so on, we can't take them out to drill the hole separately, so we're going to need to drill them in situ, but we should be able to do that fairly easily. Just tightening these up a little bit for active service. During the setup process. Okay, it should work. Right, so now in this case we need our box of OCD goodness. Now with these pickups, they don't give you screws to go with your pickup rings, but we should have, in fact we have got a ton of gold ones, which will sort of complete the bling. It's very nice. And there we have it. So we just need, on our Dremel, we just need a screw that works, drill that works with this sized screw, which is these little beauties here. So something like that, So let's just compare again. It doesn't never hurts to compare the actual diameters to be sure. 1.8 versus 2. So that's actually too big. This gets a bit sketchy because there aren't that many tiny screw drill bits in here, and not that many around that tiny size, and my hands aren't tiny enough to go in. So here we have 1.45. That's going to be the closest we're going to find, I can promise you that much. So we get this in place. Ta-da. And as it happens, that would be the same length as that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my first mark here and just go like that. And then we go like this and we line that up. Take the torque right down to 1. Line this back up. And not have this on there, let's have it flat. 2 at most then. Okay, now we can see that the others pretty much line up nicely as well. So we can just go around one after another. So. Nice, so much gold everywhere. These are only thin plastic and they are obviously bendy as well, so nothing's perfect when you line this up. But you know, you sort of get pretty close. I'm quite impressed with that as a position over the poles anyway. I don't mean impressed, I'm happy with that. I'm pleased with that outcome. Now line up this one for the first hole. This has got the deliberate sort of knotty bit either side of the pickup. That was yikes! What the hell was that? That was a deliberate design intention. Well done. Right, those are lined up as well. When I say deliberate design intention, it means there was nothing really I could do with it. It was, you know, part of the wood, so I left it as was. But actually it's quite a nice rustic feature. In you go. Okay, and that's nicely lined up too. It's quite tricky sometimes. You've got to get a mixture of downward force coupled with directional push, and sometimes as you saw it pops off and can be quite an alarming clunk when it does it. Off. Right. Okay, so now we can add into the mix the other strings. You know what? Ready used strings with coiled hooks on the end are just such a ball-breaking pain. I mean, it's great to use them as sacrificial strings, but my goodness, do they catch on every single thing in sight. They won't behave themselves, shall we say. Come on, get through there and stay on there. Right. So this is, as you know, most of you, if you've stayed this far, this is Oakcaster number 21, and it is the last, for the time being, in the series. I suppose you could call it the first series of Oakcasters, which includes Nick's Telecaster as well, and the Eckie, or Trekkie as I call it, travel oak. It's not an Oakcaster, is it? No, it's got mahogany and Eckie, but anyway, it's part of the same kind of series. And this is the first run from way back in 2014 or 15 when I made the first one, which is actually still hanging in the shed here ceremonially. But I made the first one and took it on business trips with me, and just enjoyed having a little guitar. But I think mostly, more than anything, I loved the fact that I'd made something that played. Wow, there goes a cat. Yeah, I made something that played really well and was enjoyable, easy to play, and from very humble components. You know, the wood was a shelf that people had left behind from the previous occupants of our office in London had left behind, and the neck was the first Chinese paddle neck that I bought, which I think, no, actually, you know, sorry, it wasn't. The neck was Harry, my stepson's leftover school project that he never finished. So, you know, I kind of took that, and somehow it was an Ibanez shaped thing, and somehow I was able to get a short headstock, a travel guitar Oakcaster style headstock out of it, which was quite amazing really, considering I haven't found another headstock that I can do the same thing quite so well with in all that time. But anyway, yeah, so the real thrill was making something that played, and played so well, relatively speaking, and you know, then being able to take it away on a holiday or to a business trip and play it in a hotel or something. And I didn't really do anything else with it until Claire and I went on a holiday, our sort of belated honeymoon, I suppose, and we went to the Maldives for 18 days or something, and I took it with me then, plus the battery powered Zoom effects pedal, which meant along with a pair of headphones, I had the perfect sort of beach jamming outfit. Obviously, quiet. It wasn't something that would play out loud and entertain people, but you know, it was a nice sort of little thing to have a break with on the beach. And yeah, and I enjoyed that so much that I thought this is really something that I should do more of and make more of them. So I came back pretty fired up to do it, since I'd, just, it's like taking your own medicine, trying your own product out and actually really finding you really like it. So I came back with that sort of really fired up energy and immediately made some more. The second one sold straight away, pretty quickly actually, to a guy in Greece. And that was an odd hand carved one, like the first one actually. It was all hand carved with chisels and things, but it was a bit of an odd headstock, which 3 of the tuners I think had to work backwards. It was an experiment in how small a headstock you could get away with, and it was very tiny, but it wasn't, I wouldn't do it again. Anyway, and then I made number 3, which, what was number 3? Number 3 was a white oak one, and then kind of made a set of single cut ones all the way up to number 9, which I know Mark, my friend, has. So there were a few single cuts, sort of 8 or 9, 9 in total. 8 got cancelled, and the number sort of disappeared from general use. It was a test bed really for Mark's, and it featured a blend pot for the first time, which I really quite liked the way that worked. So yeah, but it was a test really. yeah, and then number 10 really was the first double cut, which I enjoyed and sold actually pretty quickly. And then I made 11, which was a strange mixture of oak and holly from a tree down our way. Okay, now I'm looking at this, and this bridge is actually, quite a high bridge from that angle, so I'm going to need to take these down quite a bit. Now if it doesn't get to a nice action from here, then I have to reconsider putting a small shim in, which it's not something I wanted to do, but again it's about playability, so I'm aiming to get the right playing action more than anything else. Obviously I'm also running way too high an action at this top end till I cut the nut down. Okay, so let me just get a feel by capoing at the first fret. Okay. Yeah, I think this is what I got to before, that it ends up being pretty much on the deck for a playing action. It's very flat anyway. Sits kind of very low on the deck. There we go. Yeah. Or failing that, you know, we put a whatchamacallit, a small shim, which is easy to do. Just to get it up to a correct pitch a minute. Nice moment when something plays for the first time. Now these are old strings as well, so yeah, I expect them to go out of tune. Okay, just give these a little bit more stretching, and then what I'll do is I'll put the capo back on and have another feel, see where we need to go. But yeah, the first moment it makes a noise. Okay, so that's too high a first fret action, obviously. So I'm now just going to capo it on the first fret and see what we've got. Well, I think it's low enough. Where are we? I mean, what I don't want to do is I don't really want to put a shim in if I don't have to. So I'm looking at this and I think I probably don't have to, because there's something else I can do here, which is to further attach the, we'll put this, lower this a little bit, which is what we didn't tighten it completely beforehand, so thank you. This will bring it a tiny fraction down. It will also bring the screws right into the what do you call them? Countersink. Okay, that's well and truly fixed. Okay, well at its lowest, is it its lowest? I think it nearly is. Yeah, and a tiny bit more. Come on, give me an F. That's going to be a B flat. It's going sharp because it's obviously pressing too far on the first fret, but that's fine. Well, I think that's probably better. Leave it where it is without shimming. I suppose we could do the tiniest shim that would just stick to the underside of the... maybe we should. If we've been technically correct, let's do that. Let's just put a very, like they do in the factories, we just put a slight little bit of sandpaper shim. So what I'll do is I'll slack these off for a minute. Yeah, I guess just that tiny little bit of leeway back. I think I have to go and look for some other hex key to work with the bolts on this, because I think I used the last one to go with the Telecaster, which is going off to Nick, so we do need a spare one. But anyway, I'll stop for now, we're getting there. And by the way, then we'll also slightly raise up the pickups when the time is right. This isn't that way. Something like that. Probably a bit much, but hey. There you go. Right. So yeah, a little bit of, thank you door, yeah, got to find the right Allen key. Where did I have some spares? Were they kicking around in here? No. Were they kicking around in here? I was looking at a whole set of them in a part of this box called Allen keys, or otherwise known as hex, and it's got to fit this thing, so no. So I genuinely think we're out when it comes to this size, which is a bit of a problem. Or I think it's a, what is it, 5mm hex key? Yeah, it's a slight problem because we do need lots of these. I've got one on the, I've actually got one on the drill bit itself. I think we need to buy some more, or at least hunt them down and find them. Right. So, find the right one. Oh, good Lord, that's not it, and that's not it. Don't tell me I've taken it in the house. No, here it is. Right, this will do. Not ideal, but it is the last one standing. Okay, so I was going to close this down, but I'll do it in a sec. So if we undo this, it's not the right one. Oh, blimey. This is the... No, that's... oh, God. That's... No, that works. That doesn't work. Oh. Do you know what? I think I'm losing my mind. No, I'm going to have to go and find the right hex key for this, which is a ball ache, because it isn't that either. That does the No, that doesn't do anything. That's right. So the one that I use for doing the headless Oakcasters is not here. I've got to find it now, because that's the one I need. It's a black one like this, but it's not none of these. It ain't that one either, is it? No. It's the one in between. And it is the one I use. But it's not, it's neither, none of the above. Oh my. It's not that one. No. Okay. This is boring. Extremely boring. Right, I'm going to go and find the thing that will do the job for me. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back on the case with, not much later actually, the magic arm and this light probably isn't helping much. We're back with the Oakcaster 21. Now, what am I looking at here? What's going on here? Okay. Right, what I'm going to do, just looking at positioning there. Okay, I'm going to make me some, I'm going to put the switch there, and I'm going to put, it's always a iffy thing. We've only got these three areas we can use. So the switch, if the switch goes here, and it's back to front one, playing, it's smaller, but you can flick it into position. If you don't do that, and you put the volume there, you can adjust the volume quicker, or the volume can go there and the switch can go there, like that. And the switch will be only a little tiny bit sticking out. Well, actually not true. It'll stick out to about there. The question is, if you're playing it, chances are you can hit the switch playing, but if you put it there, it's sort of out of the way, and you've got to reach for it more decidedly. Here, I mean, that's why they put it up there originally, I suppose, but on SGs and no, on Les Pauls. That could be there. Yeah, hard to say, isn't it? We'll put it over here, playing, and then, yeah, you use this a lot less. Oh, what shall we do? Oh, what shall we do? That's got to be there. That has to be in that position there. That's got to be there, and this has got to be there. Okay, let's go with that configuration. Yeah, we don't want to be, the thing you don't want to be doing is catching the switch accidentally. Simple as that. Okay, so here we have the 10mm hole. Actually, I quite like doing, I don't know why. Why am I doing this? Because I like to hand ream the last bit. So I'm going to go 8mm or whatever this is. It always jumps through quite savagely at that point. And then this one here. I'm probably better off doing it this way. And then we will do the 6mm hole for the double pole double throw switch, which is going to be there. Like that. And then we will use the reamer to do this last bit out to the 10mm size. So we've got these nice Alpha 500K push pots, which we don't use any other kind anymore. I can't stand pull, push, pull. For some reason they just drive me a bit nuts. Okay, so I'm just going to widen it from here and then just test it and stop when we get exactly where we want it, which isn't quite there. Looking at the thickness now, it's about 5 mils thick, so we may have to do a little inset chiseling to fit the double pole, double throw switch, because that actually often, there you go, nice fit, very nice fit, come out, that often doesn't fit, it sits too deep or too far this way, so we have to sometimes cut a little platform for it to sit on. Nice and chunky this top. I mean, I didn't really dig that. Didn't really dig the cavity that far down when I look at it now, but a bit more. Okay, nice through there, nice through there, and then this little one here. Now I've drawn out on the board my wiring schema. Let's widen this a bit too, which features obviously the double pole double throw switch for selecting pickup selection, and then we've got, well, it's just possibly about big enough to go through, yeah, double pole double throw for pickup selection, and then master volume, master tone with a coil split push on each. Okay. Alright. So, and we've got nice hex key adjusted knobs to go on there. I won't worry about the little lifted up bits here, we'll just leave them as is. Now, the question is, do we try and do some of this outside of the guitar to begin with to make it easier? And I think we probably ought to. Lots of little fiddly bits that we can do. I also want to, although it's been oiled, I just want to try and keep these out of the way for as long as possible until they're necessary. Just to help things along be a little bit less cluttered. There's a very short earth there to the that's the shield ground, which I'm going to keep it hidden out of the way. Right, okay, so there's a bit more room in this than there was on the Oakcaster, I think. Okay, so we've got, in terms of positioning of things, we could get a little bit of cardboard. Hey, look, here's a nice piece of cardboard that came with Mike's stereo switch, stereo jack plug. We'll just use it like that, and then we'll just poke one, and it's going to come like that, and that's going to be that one there. Oh well, I suppose that's going to be A and B, that's A, so that's going to be up here. Come on, sorry, okay. What am I doing? That's A at the top, B at the bottom. Not that I think it makes that much difference, to be honest. There's some people swear by having the well, if people do it different ways. Some people swear by having A's as volume, B's as tone. Some people have all A's, some people have B's and A's the other way around. It's very, very difficult to tell. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to get, this is our basic configuration now. We need to, that one's going to be facing that way, and that one's going to be facing whichever way. So basically we've got this lot of stuff to do. know what I'm doing here. But, something like this. Don't know why I needed to do that, but something made me do it. And then I'm going to do this because something else made me do this. Don't ask me why. Don't know why that's even worth doing. It's a mess. I'm arsing about. Probably just stick it to something. Right. Anyway, there's my little platform. So, what's going to be difficult? God, do I really want to bore you with all of this? You aren't going to get a very good view anyway of the soldering. Let's move this out of the way for a minute. Put it directly behind me. Just dangle it there, like so. Okay, so we need some things. We need our soldering iron, which is there already. We need our solder, which is here. We need our thingy, cleaner thing. We need our solder. We need, that's going the wrong way around things. I think I'm going to need to put this here, which means taking out the dab, or does it mean taking out the, it means taking out the cube amp. I haven't got enough wires, sockets here. Okay, on it goes, soldering iron on. Be nice if I could somehow get this lighting to work so you don't get dazzled by it. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. You'll probably still see it, but I'll try and protect you. Right, that's that and that. I need more wires. Pile of wires. Come along. What the heck is all of this doing down here? Those are my headphones. It's useful. A pile of stuff which I don't even know what it is. Looking about over there. Right, out of the way with that. So, my trusty wire here. This is my bestest wire at the moment. This grey stuff. A couple of these. Couple of those, some of that stuff, lots of stuff, a bit of spare, some of that, useless, spare drill, some white, and some black, I think. And a bit of extra spare there. I think it's probably enough to be getting on with. No doubt we'll need this. Not that. This is some thread lock that I had. I was using to just keep the pots firmly attached on Nick's thingy. Right, now I'm going to need some a capacitor. I'm going to a bit short on stuff. I've got some. Oh, I know what I've got. I think I've got a 2.2 capacitor here. Well, Rickard, you're going to have to tell me if this is what I'm looking at. I think this is a 2200, which I believe is the right one. Now, I will confess right now, I have no idea how to double check that. But failing that, we've got, what have we got in here? We've got 47s, we've got 47s, There was a 33 in here somewhere, which I just used and then took out. So that'll be knocking around. Holy moly. I'm throwing things around. Where's my 33? That's a 47. 47. The 33 was around somewhere, but these are all 47s. 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 I didn't even say. 47. 47. I think we've used all our 33s. And that's a smaller 47. Okay, these are all 47s. Yep. Single coil territory, I guess. Now, if I put those on, if I used a 47 on this, I think the basic outcome is that it would make the humbuckers too dark. And let's just see if I've got another one floating around in here. I've got some, what are these? Oh my God, I can't see. And I still can't see. These might be 20. Oh, it tells me. Does it tell me? Does it? Hell. Nope. Oh my goodness, come on. 47s. Okay, I'm going to... So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a little play with that one there and compare it in values to another one. If I can find an actual 22, which I think I've got in my other department. In the department of OCD. Sorry about this. This is what it takes, I'm afraid. There's nothing exciting about this. Now I've got hundreds and billions of little capacitors in here. I'm just got to find which one I want. Oh, what? 47. Oh, these greens are 22, I know that much. Yeah. I don't know what this one is. 473s. Blimey, that's popular. So those are 473s. These little things here are also 473s. That's a 22, same as the green one. Okay. Funny how different they are. To a 473, 473s. So the greens are 22s, 473s, greens are 22s. Okay, so my point was, the reason I was doing that, I was going to do a check if I could. And I'm sure I've got some other ones flying around somewhere, but I don't know where they've gone now. Okay. Now this is the bit. Oh, they're pretty. Let's have a look on here a minute. Oh, these won't be. What's this one? That's 473. That's cute though. Look at the green. Oh well. Now this is. I have no idea how this works, and I'm going to find out. I've never done this on one of these before, so it could be. I could be on completely the wrong scale. What am I looking to find out? Who knows? I want to get a reading off it. Well, I'm not getting any reading. So what would I look to get? Amps, volts, resistance. And do we even know what these? Okay. Do we even know what I'm trying to measure. But it will tell me if I looked on the thing. I was telling me my battery's out. Are you for real? Okay. I don't even know. Should we look it up? That's probably the best thing to do. Okay. I'll have to hold on a second. Well, according to this instructions, I'm not sure my thing has a capacitance tester anyway, so that was a bit of a waste of time. Anyway, let's get on with it. We're going to use this in that small space, but we're going to make it work somehow. Now to do that, this thing is going to come, I'm going to make a note on here which these are. We're going to work off the tone pot, which is the bottom one. Actually, we're going to make it, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, we're going to, it's going to work backwards. They're both going to go like that. No, they're upside down. I think I better do that just that way for now. So we've got volume and tone. And here we're going to go off there, the middle, and losing my mind. That's right, facing me. Okay, we're going to make this thing fit, so we're going to go to the edge. We're going to go from there to the edge, so we're going to go short and sweet. Where's my cutters? Ow! Here we are. So there's a lot of fiddling about preparing things, really. These Ricard gave me these capacitors, and they are troublesome. They're not really very convenient to be used in guitars. See if I can get an angle cut on here. Yeah, maybe so. A bit sharp now. Okay, keep that there. So there's quite a bit to fiddle around and do. So that's going to end up making that to there, connect to there. So that's going to be quite low down. So, all right, what's the first things we're going to do? Well, we're going to join these top to bottom. I never know which way round this is going to work either. Whichever way round it is, it's going to end up. I never know which way it's going to work in the end. I have to be ready to change it round. I can't even figure out how to figure it out in advance. Okay, right, so we're going to do several things. We are going to connect up, ultimately the coil split's going to go into there, and this one is going to have a middle jumper on it, which I'm going to use a bit of this for. Do we really need it covered? Do we need it covered? No, it can be loose. So let's get that in there. What's it going to do? Oh, actually it's going to come, this is a piece that's going to come off. Let's do it like this. This is going to come off this one here to there. Don't know quite what this wire's like. It's a little bit stiff, but hey. So this is, I'm afraid, really boring. It's boring to do and slow to do because I have to kind of talk out loud to myself. So I need both ends of this up and up. Now the question is, does this go through there comfortably? Well, just about. And it's quite stiff, this cable, this wire. Right. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. So this is going to run from there to there, but this is also going to run another one round to, we can use a bit of this now, we're going to run one round to there. It's also going to need to ground this one as well. So we've got a bit of shielded cable here, which we can use the inner and the outer for our purposes. So the outer will go to the outside of the pot here, and the inner will connect up to the number 1 lug, and it will share that lug with this one here. I'll cut the other end to match. So it needs to be able to turn around. We'll turn that way. So we'll go from there. Okay. I probably shouldn't bore you with this. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I know this might be interesting, but I'm going to disappear because this is just too laboriously slow, and you can't really see in that much detail anyhow. So I really am going to jump ship on this and come back when we're nearer to putting things together. Damn, it's not what I wanted to have happen either. All that. Right, I'm going to do this with the radio on. See you in a bit. Right, bring you back in at the fun point where we are ready to put this together and tighten things up, and I'll do that now. Where is no way we'll get the adjustable spanner. So everything's working, very fiddly little job. Got quite a bit of tidying up to do too, but everything's in place, everything's working well, and just got to put the jack socket on, as you do. Hold everything still when I tighten it up. And finally this little thing down here, which is nigh on impossible to get to. Come on. It's really difficult to keep this in one place actually. I've got a restrainer device for larger switches, but not for this size. Do it up. There we go. Okay, so that's all that done and in place, and now I just really got to tuck everything away whilst ensuring that everything gets tucked away safely and not in any danger. Now, we haven't checked the switches, but I'll do that shortly. Okay, so that's everything tucked away. For now we'll just replace this, although that's good. And then we've got, again we could do another quick test here while we've got it the front ways up. That's the best way to check. So we go to earth, ow, just pinch my own skin, that's really good. And sorry, these things are very handy, but they're completely unworkable at times. They're too small for what they're trying to do. Come on. Okay. Okay, going to stop this the new and do all these things. I'm going to do a bit of tidying up. Oh well, I'll do the jack socket first and then tidying up. Somewhere in here lives, or somewhere lives the jack socket. You may have one somewhere. I'm looking for a black one. Sure I've got a spare black one. Here is one. Oh no, then the knobs. They belong somewhere else. Where do the knobs belong? The knobs belong with the other guitar. Oh crikey. There. Black socket. Well, we've got a metal socket there which we could use. And we've got a chrome one there, with a plastic one there. Damping it with my fingers. I want a Tele style one more than anything. There's one there, and I'm now looking for one of these. But it must be the smaller size one because the big chunky ones won't fit. So it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. Tuners, spare tuners. Oh, for heavens! Oh, okay, there we go. Knew I had it somewhere. There, tons of stuff everywhere. That's blend pots. Don't need those right now. Okay, so the idea is, well, we've got. Are we still plugged in? Yeah, we are. Thank you for the free plectrum. So the idea is, first of all, to get this to fit in here. That should work. Okay, let's get this connected. Actually, we don't want this to come most of the way through, don't we? Because I quite like it sticking out that far. Personally, it just means less to go to come undone. Keep it simple, so keep that on for a minute. Okay, so we are going to go earthed and earth and live. Earthed and live off to one side. And then we're going to feed it all back in and test it one more time before we do anything else. Always triple test it. That's not working, come on. Why isn't that transferring the heat correctly? Thank you. Final snips. Then we'll drill a couple of little pilot holes, assuming this fits correctly, of course. It's been a long time since I made this body, so I'm trusting that it will fit in the hole. Yay! It's a little bit narrow. That's not really what I wanted to see at this point in the game. Damn. I think this is going to struggle to fit without. This was done with before I had the proper Forstner bit, so it was a much scrappier hole. So I think I'm going to have to adjust it slightly, which is one level of additional faff I really could have done without. Now what I could do, but I don't necessarily want to do, is I could run straight in with my correct Forstner bit, which is sitting somewhere. There it is. That might actually just make it work easier. So, not the ideal situation, but let's see if I can do it without overrunning. Think that may just be the tidy solution. Hurrah! It is. Very good. Now how easy it is when you've got the right tools. Right, so we'll go back to reattaching the thingy, jack socket, rewind, start again. Okay, look around. Okay, let's have a look. Can we get this on here? I think we can. That one through there. Yeah, that's good. And this one through there. We still have to test it, remember, and then we'll take a break for today because I've got to go and book a courier for the Telecaster on its trip to Arizona. Okay. So nearly done. Don't know what you can see from down there. Good. Press that into there. Now we're going to line up our jack socket to drill a hole, which I've unplugged, so that isn't going to help. Okay, we're done with the soldering iron, so let's remove that. Go back in with thing, which this looks about a good starter pilot hole size. So let's just line her up. It's a bit bright actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a thwack with this. Yeah. Okay. It's because it's a curved surface, it's not perfectly matched, but that's going to have to do. Okay, and then we're going to go, got quite a bit of thickness to go in, but we'll still go inside this. Took a little grind on the side of the thing there because it's sticking out so far, but okay, no worries. Test. Okay, just one more thing. I think we might need to replace that capacitor because I'm not sure that's even the right value, but okay, well that's only going to take a day or two to get in. Yeah, okay, let's worry about that later. Okay, so most things done. We need now to just get ready to adjust the action. And it needs some fret leveling to go on there as well. Currently it's nice and flat, so we can make adjustments to that. Alright, that's all for now. Sorry, not very good. Lots of faffing about. Right, so I'm going to hang this up and we'll go and order a 22 capacitor and we'll just leave it sit for a little bit and then come back to it soon. Hello there. Look, we are just about to do fret leveling on Oakcaster 21, Dave's Oakcaster. I've done the nut slots offline, off camera. I had something else to do at the same time, so here we are, just coming to the leveling bit. So I've marked up all the frets, as you can see. They're brand new jumbo frets, so we've got plenty of leeway. And so we've got to get the right curve in the truss rod, which is now too much. Very sensitive little adjusters, these. We get the right, basically match the angle, match the curvature on the neck, and like that, and then we then level out, take away any high spots. Now, the nice thing about this tool is it tells you what's going on pretty quickly. So where you've got high fret, it'll usually become apparent straight away. Do a little bit of filing, and then high one, a little bit high, but we just have to do it until we get the playing action we want, basically. Actually, I might need to just retweak that. It's a little bit higher than I wanted. Okay. But just before I go any further, this is an incredibly low action. Oh, that's mad. Actually, it's way too low. There's no point. There's no point making it impossible. That's the wrong size thing. We need to get the right sort of action to be going with. Otherwise, we're just setting an impossible task or target. 1.2 here, which is there, and so there. A tiny bit higher on this one, and here. Okay, we got 1.5 there. So down with that one, up with that one a fraction. Okay, let's go back to a tune. Right, let's just try those notes again. Tiny little bit more to do then. Had an interesting exchange on YouTube this morning about string stretching, and a gentleman came on and kind of took issue or disagreed with the principle of stretching string, and said that, well, not the principle, sorry, disagreed with the inference that I'd made, which was that stretching a string, doing what I do, stretches the strings. He said basically the detuning you get when you stretch strings, new strings when you put them on, that detuning comes from I suppose essentially strings pulling tight around the post, the tuner post, which I don't disagree with. I mean, that's one of the things that does happen, because you are storing up kind of slack of the string, if you like, around the tuner post. So when you start to pull it tight, then it tightens up that knot, and then you've got a detuning effect that happens. So it's totally no issue with that. But what was interesting to me is that he kind of argued very strongly that you can't literally stretch a wound or a steel string. They don't get any longer or shorter. It's not that that's happening. which I found quite an interesting claim, because I mean, I don't know the answer, and as with all these things, rather than get kind of find myself pulled into a big argument about it, I'm not really bothered what happens technically, you know, and so I'm not really that attached to my description of it. You know, I talk about bending the strings, and he criticised this act of bending here, saying really it's all happening here and here. But I found that quite an interesting claim because of several things. One of them is that I've used locking tuners before on many guitars, and if the so somehow none of that seems to be recorded. I do not know what's going on with this camera now. I probably missed all of the fret leveling. Sorry about this. I'm just lining up to just level the frets, just done the nut. I was lining up, I've done the reprofiling, and I was lining up to switch it off while I did the sanding out, and found I've just switched it on. So okay, I'm not going to bore you with this, so I'm going to get ready to sand it out. I'll come back when tomorrow hopefully the ferrules will arrive, the new 0.22 thing capacitor will arrive, and we'll fit that, and then just be ready to restring it with some new 10s, and then test play it, and we're ready to go.